Hey there, internet friends. Welcome to another episode of That D Plus Show. Class is in session for the only show from that nerdy site that lets you know what kind of quality to expect right from the name. I'm your host, Trevor Starkey, and each week we dive into a different Disney Plus offering and discuss its history, how it holds up today, and our general impressions. Joining me today, we have Cameron Abbott. How you doing, Cameron?
Hey, Trevor, what's going on?
I mean, not much apart from like the very long pause there where you were clearly trying to think of a quote and then did not come up with one. And
Oh no, I paused because I was like, it's like time to use the quote. It's like I didn't prepare a quote for this. And it's
yeah,
like right on.
exactly.
Moving
Yeah.
on.
Yep.
Moving on.
Yep. But today, if you couldn't tell by the lack of a quote that Cameron gave, today we're talking about Andor. I would say climb would be a good quote for this one, or can't swim, or I mean, there are any number of good quotes from this season of Andor. So yes, we kicked off back when Andor launched. Me, Cameron, and Logan discussed the first three episodes that kind of came out all at once. And the original intent was for the three of us to get back together and do that again. Logan was unavailable, so it is just Cam and I for this one. But obviously Andor finished up last week. We didn't record about it last week because A, Cameron still needed to like get really caught up, and B, it was Thanksgiving weekend, so we kind of just took the week off. But today we are talking all about all of the things Andor season 1. Why did we pick it? Because it's the new Star Wars thing and it is done now. So let's kind of dissect where the series went from where we originally saw it back all those weeks ago. Before we dive into that, though, a little bit of the history lesson here for you. This was originally released starting September 21st and ran through, as I mentioned there, November 23rd, 2022. Episodes had a runtime between 38 and 57 minutes. In the Star Wars television timeline of things, we had The Book of Boba Fett that came out end of 2021 through February of this year. Then we had Obi-Wan Kenobi from May 27th through June 22nd. Andor here, September through November. Up next is The Mandalorian Season 3, slated to start in February 2023. Then TBD 2023 is the Ahsoka series and Skeleton Crew. I guess this is specifically the live action TV timeline because I'm realizing, I didn't include Tales of the Jedi there. But yes, Skeleton Crew also TBD 2023. Our roll call, our who's who of this. The director for half of the episodes was Toby Haynes. He directed the first three episodes, kind of centering around the escape from Ferrix. And then he directed a lot of the prison arc episodes 8, 9, and 10. Prior to this, he had directed a handful of episodes of Doctor Who, as well as an episode of Sherlock and an episode of Black Mirror. Benjamin Caron, or Karen, directed episode 7, as well as the two episodes 11 and 12 at the end of the season. Prior to this, he directed a number of productions for the Branagh Theatre live, basically live or live to tape productions of stage plays at the Branagh Theatre in which I believe is named for Kenneth Branagh in the UK. He's also directed for Sherlock and The Crown. And lastly, Susanna White directed the Aldani arc, episodes 4, 5, and 6. Previously, she directed the film Nanny McPhee Returns, as well as episodes of Boardwalk Empire, Masters of Sex, and Billions. Our writers... Tony Gilroy is kind of the creator of the entire series and wrote for many of the episodes. He's like a credited writer on pretty much every episode. Prior to this, he had written Armageddon, as well as the Bourne series, Identity, Supremacy, Ultimatum, and Legacy. And he was one of the writers of Rogue One, of course. Dan Gilroy, his brother, came in to write on the Aldani arc, episodes 4 through 6. Previously, he was the writer for the movie Real Steel, which I believe was Hugh Jackman.
Yes, it was. That was Hugh Jackman. Yes, it was. Also, what
The
I
Rock'em
like to
Sock'em
call it,
Robot
Rock'em
movie?
Sock'em Robot. Yeah, I call
Yeah.
it the Rock'em Sock'em Robots movie.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. Like, and also there's a part in the movie where there is a perfect moment for somebody to say Rock'em Sock'em Robot, and they don't use it.
Yeah.
Because of course it's not licensed by Rock'em Sock'em Robots Hasbro, but it should have been.
Yeah.
And the fact that we got a battleship movie and this movie wasn't allowed to be called Rock'em Sock'em Robots, or didn't nobody had the idea to call it Rock'em Sock'em Robots, is literally a crime against humanity in which every bad thing that's ever happened to us is deserved.
Oh, I feel like that was probably the pitch for the movie was let's make a Rock'em Sock'em Robot movie, and then Hasbro probably just passed on it, and so whoever produced it was like, all right, we'll do it without the license.
But they took Battleship.
It was a different time.
It's heinous. It's heinous. It's a crime against humanity, and it's wrong. And if you know, people out there, you need to know, if there's one thing I could change with a time machine,
That's what it would be.
It's to make sure that film is called Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
All right. Dan Gilroy
That's
also...
the only thing that wouldn't have like butterfly effect ramifications, Trevor. It's the only thing that would make would work.
Oh, I can't imagine that wouldn't. I'm sure that somehow would affect things in the future. Dan Gilroy also wrote with his brother on The Bourne Legacy, and then he was also credited as the screenwriter for Nightcrawler and Kong Skull Island. Bo Williman wrote on episodes 8, 9, and 10, again, the majority of the prison arc. He was also the House of Cards creator, and more recently was a writer on Mary Queen of Scots. And Stephen Schiff came in and wrote episode 7, having also written Lolita, Wall Street, Money Never Sleeps, and 9 episodes of The Americans. Are starring... yes.
Whoa, that is like the first 2.
Yeah.
Money Never Sleeps is fine, I guess. And I think about it, like it's fine.
I mean, like, yeah, I kind of picked, like, those were the named things that I recognize. Even like Wall Street, Money Never Sleeps, it's like, oh, that's right, they made a Wall Street sequel, like a Legacy Wall Street sequel, a number of years back, and he was the one that came in and worked on that.
And that's fine. The first one is the one I get weirded out by.
Yeah. Are starring here, of course, Diego Luna as Cassiana Andor, having been in Y Tu Mama Tambien, Milk, and of course playing the role of Cassian in Rogue One. He's also in Narcos Mexico. Kyle Soller playing Cyril Karn, having been in things like Anna Karenina, Yumi in the Apocalypse, Marrowbone, and The Titan. Stellan Skarsgård as Luthen Rail, having been in Good Will Hunting, Pirates of the Caribbean series, the Mamma Mia series, the Thor series, and now Dune. He's just racking it up there, is Stellan Skarsgård. She had not, I don't think she had appeared yet when we did the first trio of episodes, but we have Genevieve O'Reilly returning as Mon Mothma. She's been playing Mon Mothma ever since Revenge of the Sith, and she is also Moira in Overwatch. That was a thing that jumped out at me. I was like, oh, Cameron likes that game. I'm going to shout that out. Denise Go, or Goh, is Deidre Miro. She's Yennefer in The Witcher 3 game. Only in The Witcher 3. Not she replaced somebody. I didn't look up who. And she was also in a movie that I saw ads for so much.
Yennefer's not in Witcher 1 and 2.
Oh, she's not? I get that she wouldn't be in 2 because that's when Geralt's going through his stuff or whatever, and so he meets up with Triss. I thought she would have been in the first one.
Triss is introduced. So Triss is in the games from the first one through the second one. 3 is when Yennefer, because at the end of 2, I think is when he gets like all of his memories back from his post amnesia spell.
Okay.
And so for people who don't know, the Witcher games actually take place right after the last Witcher book. And so that's just a fun note.
We probably don't need to head down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, but yeah, anyway.
So that explains
why
why she's only Yennefer in Witcher 3. So it's not that she replaced somebody, it's that the character wasn't in the other ones. That's that's weird to me because I, having not played the other ones, but having watched the show and the third one, I just would have assumed she was a character in the other things, but in the same way of like Mass Effect or something, like, oh, some characters are just gone for the second game, but then they come back for the the hurrah at the end or something. But okay. Anyway, Denise Go was also in The Kid Who Would Be King, which is a movie I saw so many times in trailers in the lead up to, and then like
Yeah,
I knew it wasn't going to be a good movie, but it was very much like oh, did that just get sent out to die during the pandemic? No, it came out in 2019. It came out before the
mhm.
pandemic. But yeah, so a little King Arthur story. But yeah, she's
Yeah,
she's like
that's the one
second
where
billing in that one.
that's the one where the kids go, "Where'd you learn how to drive?" And then the other kid goes, "Mario Kart."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yep. Mhm.
Adria Arjona plays Bix Kayleen. Bix Kayleen. She's in True Detective, Six Underground. She was in Morbius, so she's been having a year. She was also in Father of the Bride. Faye Marseille playing Vel Sartha. She was the waif in Game of Thrones, aka one of the people that kind of trained slash abused Arya Stark. She's also in the last Christmas episode of Doctor Who, which is the one where Nick Frost plays Santa Claus. Virata Sethu plays Cinta Kaz. She also had a busy summer because she was in Jurassic World Dominion. Anton Lesser as Major Partagaz, aka like the boss man of the ISB of like this little segment of the ISB at least. He's in Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. Probably best known to audiences though as Qyburn in Game of Thrones later seasons, and then he's
Mhm.
also in The Crown. Elizabeth Dulau plays Clea Markey, Luthen's like right hand woman. And this is almost her debut. She was in 2 episodes of Gentleman Jack and 1 episode of The Outlaws prior to this. We touched on him last time, but Dave Chapman playing BMO or B2EMO. He was a BB-8 performer prior to this. He was also in Solo: A Star Wars Story and The Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance. Fiona Shaw as Marva Andor, going all the way back to Super Mario Brothers, but she was also, of course, Aunt Marge in the Harry Potter series. And more recently, she was in Enola Holmes and Killing Eve. Forrest Whitaker makes a little cameo return as Saw Gerrera, which he has been playing since Rogue One. And he's also of course, been in things like The Last King of Scotland, which he won an Academy Award for, and Black Panther. Andy Serkis popping up as Kino Loy. Of course, he's Andy Serkis. I almost wrote he's Andy freaking
Yeah, he's
Serkis
Andy
as
Serkis,
kind of
man.
his bio, but of course from Lord of the Rings / The Hobbit, Planet of the Apes, Ulysses Claw in the MCU, and recently Alfred in The Batman. And then last two, I just want to give little shout outs to Duncan Powell as Melshi, reprising his role as Melshi from Rogue One. So it's cool to see that like that's where he and Cassian met, was in the prison. And so it was also kind of like a fun little, oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
we know he's going to survive to Rogue One. And then lastly, I just want to give this guy a shout out to, because I when I was watching the show, I was like, I recognize that guy. What do I recognize that guy from? That is Ben Miles as Tay Kolma, who's basically like the banker friend of Mon Mothma from like
Mhm.
childhood. And I know him from the British sitcom Coupling, which was Stephen Moffat created show before he worked on Doctor Who. And it was basically like a UK answer to Friends.
Yeah, I remember.
That ultimately like also, I mean, like in retrospect, it's much more of like a lot of the stuff that How I Met Your Mother kind of like did in terms of like breaking the structures of storytelling. I had already seen Coupling do, because yeah, it was fun. And yes, like if you go and look at like the cast of Coupling, it's like, oh, they had like a stellar cast that has gone on to big and great things, including like Jack Davenport. Yeah. So yeah, I saw him and I was like, that's what I know him from. He was Patrick in Coupling, a show that my sister introduced me to like early in college. I think it's like from the turn of the millennium, basically. But he's also more recently been in The Crown. So, yeah. As we often do when we talk Star Wars things, diving into the trivia, we have the "They Have a Bad Feeling About This" segment, and I think throughout the entirety of the season they kind of refrain from using or falling back to the "I have a bad feeling about this" line. I don't recall it ever coming up or making note of it anywhere. So, yeah, shout out to that. we touched on this first go round, but this occurs, as you see in the very first episode, in 5 BBY, 5 years before the Battle of Yavin. Also occurring in 5 BBY is pretty much all the beginning of Rebels, Star Wars Rebels, all the stuff there with Kanan and Ezra Bridger. But also in there, the mission to Tamsi Prime occurs, in which Jyn Erso is abandoned by Saw Gerrera. So when we see Saw Gerrera in this show, he could have just left Jyn on some on some planet somewhere. It's unclear if this occurs before or after that. But yeah. Other trivia we have. While en route to Aldhani, Cassian mentions that he fought in the Battle of Mim Bam, which Han Solo also fought in, as shown in Solo: A Star Wars Story. Luthen's gallery has a ton of Easter eggs that a lot of people just kind of picked apart every time it was shown throughout the course of the series, including armor worn by Starkiller from the Star Wars Unleashed games, Plo Koon's breather mask, a tablet of the World Between Worlds from Star Wars Rebels, various Jedi and Sith holocrons, a Gungan shield, a Princess Amidala-style headpiece, Mandalorian armor, Jedi Temple Guard mask, Wookiee helmets, and then leaving the world of Star Wars, we have the Sankara stones from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, as well as Indiana Jones's whip encased in carbonite.
I did not know about those two. That's cool.
Yeah. The Sankara stones are like on the hidden in the back, kind of on a shelf. But yeah, like and also they don't often kind of like show it to the foreground, but yeah, you can see multiple shots of the whip in carbonite. Or I mean, if it's not the whip, if it's not Indiana Jones's whip, it's a whip just in carbonite. And so yeah. Colonel Wolf Yularen, who is a background character from New Hope, and who was made more prominent in the Star Wars Clone Wars series as Anakin's friend and ally and the narrator, makes his live-action, quote, return, because he's the one who comes in and reprimands the ISB following the events of Aldhani. The Cantwell-class arrestor cruiser that Luthen evades when he pulls out his ship and does all of his cool little like evasion techniques and stuff, and destroys like the satellite dishes and stuff. That ship is based on designs originally presented for A New Hope back in the day. Dishes were eventually adapted into what would become the design of the Death Star super laser. It debuted in live action in a background Imperial recruitment video in Solo after production crew found the design in the Lucasfilm archives. It is named for designer Colin Cantwell.
That's cool.
Yeah, fun little, just Andor, just pulling cool little fun stuff like that. Also, I think we may have talked about this the first time, but they also officially kind of confirm calf as basically the like Star Wars world version of coffee.
Really? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it had been like mentioned, I think, in comics or stuff like that, but like this is I think the first in anything live action is the first reference of calf, which we saw a lot of, like people drinking on Ferrix, and I think Bix specifically asks if Tim has any or something like that in one of those first episodes. But yeah,
I just kind of assumed it was some, like I assumed it was like a coffee like type drink.
Yep.
But that's cool.
Yep. So Cameron, let's talk some Andor. I was watching this on a week-to-week basis. You and I have talked a couple times. You were very behind. Like you pretty much watched those first 3 episodes when we did the first episode of that D+ show on it. And then you were busy with other things. So you went and watched all the rest of the episodes this last week in a day. You basically binged them in like pretty much one sitting. So
that is correct.
It's
yes.
very fresh in your mind. What did you
Literally,
think?
it was Monday.
Yeah.
Monday. Yeah. It was awesome. Andor might just be, like I've said for years, many, many years, that one of the reasons I love Solo, one of the reasons why I love these kind of like non-Jedi, non-Force, non-fate of the entire galaxy stories is I like this universe on that level. That level of, we know the galactic conflict, we know the space opera, But the world of Star Wars is so much more than just the space opera. One of my favorite things that I've ever done Star Wars related or been involved with Star Wars related was the reboot of the tabletop RPG version of Star Wars, not Edge of the Galaxy. Trying to remember what it's called. It's not Galaxy's Edge because that's the park. But basically, it's the idea is like, hey, we're not going to make when they came out with it, they said, we do not want to make it all about Jedis and Sith. We want you to feel like the different classes are things like pilots, gunners, bounty hunters, like all these like regular people in this galaxy, because it's full of those people. When we talked about wasn't Andor, we were talking about Tales from the Jedi. When we were talking about that, we talked about how like the whole like timeline is kind of screwy when it comes to people not remembering Jedi. Mm-hmm. Like it's weird why like these were, but I think that when you look at how many Jedi there are in the entire span of the galaxy, and like how many people in their lives never saw a Jedi, how many people in their lives heard about the Jedi and heard that they were basically just space wizards with laser swords. Like I think that, and this is something that I think this Andor does such a great job of showing how effective the Empire is in over the course of just 15 years. By the time Andor's taking place, it's in 5 BBY, right?
Yeah. Oh, so you're saying like basically after Order 66? Yeah, that's
Order
right.
66. After Order 66, like for 15 years, we see how they have slowly encroached themselves into every fabric of the galaxy. We see it's ISB, right? Not IBS.
Yeah, ISB. Yeah.
Okay, I'm like, it's not irritable bowel syndrome, is it? Might as well be. You see how effective ISB is. You see how effective they are. You see how they permeated every notion. They are doing things like they're borderline thought controlling. Like it's something straight you don't expect to really see out of Star Wars so much as you expect to see out of 1984 from George Orwell. Like this idea of we have a government agency that literally is in charge of controlling how the galaxy thinks, lives, and breathes. And it's on that level, and we see how effective they are at it. And it's something I love is it's this idea of the Rebel Alliance is not the Rebel Alliance yet. There are rebels. There are these different cells. You have, like, when Luthien is sitting down with Saw Gerrera, and he's just like, they're talking about a completely different faction that Saw Gerrera refuses to back up. He's an ox. He's a moron. Like, he's an idiot. Like, I don't want to get my people involved with him. I refuse to ever work with him. And you get to see, like, these extremists who were the earliest rebels, the earliest people who really stood up against the Empire. And they're seen, and you get to see kind of like how wild they are. Like Luthien is. Oh, sorry. Let me get back to my original thought. Sorry, I went way off the rails right away. My apologies. I freaking loved it, and I loved it because at its core, Andor is a story about people who live in the galaxy far, far away. Andor is not about the heroes or the villains. It's a story like it's the origin story of a hero we get in a later movie. But he's not the hero yet. And we get to kind of see this Andor who is so dedicated to the cause that he's like, he literally like shoots this guy that we saw he went through hell with for the cause. Mm-hmm. And also that also tells me like that's another thing we can get into later, but the level at which we get to see this origin story, but it also just is telling us a story of how the rebellion kind of like how its grassroots began to grow is an awesome experience. And it's just a brilliant show. I cannot stress enough how much I love Andor. I think in the modern era, it is the best, like top to bottom, beginning to end, anything that we've got in Star Wars in the Disney era.
Yeah, real quick, I want to shout out one more name that I meant to throw into the doc and forgot about until you started talking about some of these elements, and that is Alex Lothar, who plays Nemec, who's the
Mm-hmm.
the idealist, the who writes his manifesto kind of thing.
Manifesto.
Um,
Also, shout out to them having freaking data pads.
yeah,
When she handed him the journal, and I was like, ugh, paper in Star Wars, what the, like, get that out of here. And then it flips open, and it's actually a data pad. I was just like, yes.
yes. Other things he's been in: End of the Fucking World and the French
Fantastic.
Dispatch. I believe in French Dispatch, I think he's the guy that basically gets fired for crying in Bill Murray's office. I've only seen the movie
think so.
like once, but I saw that
I haven't
commercial
seen it.
so many times.
Yeah, I remember that from the trailer.
Yeah, I think that's him. Anyway,
I
he's
remember
really
him
good.
specifically because he was in one of the like best ever Black Mirror episodes.
Which one was he in? Because yeah, like a lot of people in this were in Black Mirror as well. Which one was that?
I think it was season 3.
Shut Up and Dance. Yeah, that was the episode.
Shut Up and Dance. Shut Up and Dance is one of the most brilliant episodes of anything ever written, ever done, and performed. And he is incredible in it. Because the like Black Mirror episodes are known for the twist. The twist of this episode is fucking gut-wrenching, dude. Like, it's so gut-wrenching and awful. And like, oh, anyway.
Yeah, I just wanted to give him a shout out because
he's incredible. He's truly incredible.
I think he is, like you mentioning Skeen, I think is the guy that Cassian basically shoots. And I don't, you put it in the sense that Cassian is doing that for the cause. I don't think Cassian's bought into the cause at that point.
I apologize. No, I was referencing not the guy that he was shooting, who was part of the who in Andor, the guy he shot, who was his informant in Rogue One.
In Rogue One, gotcha.
That's the guy he went through hell with.
Yeah,
that's like to see that connection of they meet up again and he's
no, that guy that's not Melshi. No,
that's not Melshi.
No, Melshi is one of the guys that like goes down to Scarif with them. He's on the ship when they go down to Scarif. That guy's not in there. I don't think that we don't know.
Never mind then. Sorry about that. I thought
maybe
that's why
we'll
I was
see
surprised.
him in
I was like,
2.
I didn't realize that at all.
No, Melshi was just one of those, like one of the other guys on the like crew of like scoundrels and spies that go with Jin and the crew down to Scarif.
He's like, okay, yeah, no, I remember him now. I was like, who was? And then I remembered, okay.
I mean, he's very much like a background. I think he has like a line or two, so he's just above an extra. But
he's supposed to be somebody who's close to Andor, who is like another member of the cause. So that makes sense.
Yeah,
that together makes sense. I will say that. Okay,
gotcha.
When you said he's like that and he's in Rogue One and he's his friend, I was like, wait a minute, is he the guy? My thought process was, oh, he's the guy Andor shoots in the alley in Rogue One.
Nope, gotcha.
Not that guy. Totally fine. Listen. I remember the important people from Rogue One.
There you go. But yeah, like I love that so much of this series is Cassian like realizing this is a fight he is destined to be a part of.
Yeah.
It's like even from from those early flashbacks we get in the first couple episodes of like he's been in this fight since he was a kid, since he got pulled into it, and every time he like is trying to be more selfish or he's fighting for very personal reasons rather than like a grander cause. Like he doesn't want to be part of a bigger thing. But he's like, we see him beaten down so much. And I think in particular, like, I think a huge turning point for him is the prison arc where like he gets picked up for nothing, thrown into jail for 6 years that would probably have turned into like indefinite, and just seeing like how like I definitely was not expecting this series to be like, hey, we're gonna turn into an allegory for the prison industrial complex. Cool. Yep. Have fun.
We're gonna talk about corporate towns and ownership and borderline slavery. We're gonna talk about like like way fascist
colonization of
colonization, yeah,
Aldani, yeah.
of Aldani. Like you have like everything that this show does is it is a highlight and a theme. Like the way that they talk, like Marva's quote or speech at the end, in episode 12, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, episode 12. Her when she's talking about how the Empire moved in, she is pulling quotes from real life. They're pulling quotes from real life that people have talked about how fascism works, how fascist and authoritarianism moves itself slowly because you're complacent, because you want peace, and this is something that they're part of, that they promise. Her entire speech is such a wake-up call to look around you, like the fascists are among us. And it's such a great, awesome moment. And also, shout out to this weird, super, like, fucked up, like, budding fascist romance story.
Between Cyril and Miro, yeah. That's like...
That's weird. That's weird. I was like, man, I'm like...
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I didn't expect Nazis in love to be like a theme in this like a thing that they were going to do in Andor. But Andor does everything, man. Andor's got something for everybody. Even if you're a fascist and you hate their anti-fascist message, guess what? There's a love story between two fascists. Although I have a feeling one of them is going to die in something caused by the Empire and causing the other one to become a rebel. That's my prediction on that.
Oh, that'd be interesting. Yeah, I
Because
guess
if Cyril is so obsessed with order, and then he actually finds out how actually discombobulated the Empire ends up getting. Like the closer we get to one BBY to the Empire. Another thing to point out also is I heard somebody give a really good explanation. They're like, why are these stormtroopers so damn good and accurate? And somebody's like, well, this is like the first batch of them. Like this is the first, like these are the true tried and true like veterans and stuff of these other conflicts.
Mm-hmm.
They get, and then you find out later that they're conscripting people from planets. These are unwilling participants in the actual movies. But anyway,
it's also, I mean,
and that's a retcon. That's also a retcon for like bad aiming.
Of course, but I think it's also like in the movies, like we associate them with bad aim because they never hit our heroes, but like they hit plenty of rebels in the opening of A New Hope and other things.
Yeah, and so Obi-Wan does say this can't be sand people. It's too accurate. These are the patterns of stormtroopers.
Yeah,
which has always left people being like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, but yeah, like it's very much like here. I mean, so much of this is like one shot, one kill kind of thing, as would be much more realistic and stuff. And they're shooting into crowds of people, so of course they're gonna hit somebody.
Not only that, but it's also like you totally expect like what happens to Nevik. He dies from like his chest.
He wasn't buckled in, yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't buckled in. And he gets smashed by he literally gets smashed by the symbol of capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Capitalism literally kills this kid.
Yeah. But like, yeah.
Also, I also need them to like give out the entirety of his manifesto because that shit is just good.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't imagine they've actually got it written, or like a full thing written, but I'm on the IMDb like quotes page for the final episode, and they have basically everything he talks about in here. And one of my favorite things that I'll jump in on that note is he ends that speech, and what we get on in that speech is and know this: the day will come when all these skirmishes and battles, these moments of defiance, will have flooded the banks of the Empire's authority, and then there will be one too many. One single thing will break the siege. Remember this: try. And I love that because it is like obviously one of the biggest quotes of Star Wars is "Do or do not, there is no try" from Yoda in Empire. And like this is basically hey, that's a very shitty or very privileged and entitled philosophy that Yoda is espousing to Luke. And it also speaks to Yoda didn't try against Palpatine at the end of Revenge of the Sith. He did not, and then left. And so I love that, like, it comes down to rebels like Nemec here saying, we have to try. We may not succeed, but we have to try. in the hopes that somebody else will be able to like pick up the baton and carry it forward and stuff like
That's
that.
really, yeah. And I think that also, when you say privilege, it's the privilege that we see Jedi have in this universe is tremendous. This this monastic order, and like honestly, it speaks to one of the reasons why I love in the expanded universe literature. It's brought up multiple times that like the Jedi are like the balance between them being adored and them being like hated is a knife's edge, because if you are for the system and the authority and everything like that, then yeah, you think Jedis are pretty great. But if you are at all against the status quo, knowing that the Senate can just send in their lapdogs, their hounds, to basically use their literal space magic and laser swords to force you to comply, like it speaks to a level of privileged authoritarianism that Coruscant specifically has, and has used the Jedi to, for the most part, not really need a military. Because the Jedi settle all conflicts. Well, why did the Jedi settle them? Well, the Senate sends us. But who sends you from the Senate? The Supreme Chancellor. Okay, so the majority send you after pockets of minority upright. Like there, it speaks like the stuff that's not spoken is very, very loud in Star Wars. Oftentimes, I find, and so like I see, like the idea of like do or do not, there is no try. That's great, considering you were you're literally an 800-year-old green little man who he also finds out is just talks weird for some reason, for no reason whatsoever. Gosh, that's annoying. I hate that that ever came out during Tales from the Jedi. When you told me that, I was just like, incensed. So all of that, though, that being said, so all of that is just somebody who is, you are a cloistered monk who thinks on these higher things. Nemik's just a kid.
Yeah.
Who feels not, he himself has not even been dearly personally wronged by the Empire. He just believes in freedom and he's against tyranny. He's an idealist. And it's his words that do help spark the fire that ends the Empire. Because if Cassian doesn't have that, if Cassian doesn't go back and get that manifesto, if he doesn't go back and get that manifesto, he doesn't listen to those words, it doesn't put a fire in his heart. Does he, like, where does that go? Like, I'm not saying it's solely responsible, but it's all these little things that lead Andor to becoming who he ends up being. Whether it's, dude, when he takes the name Clem, and I'm like, that's so dumb, Clem. And then you find out later it was his dad's name, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought Clem was dumb, but it's actually this, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And it's like, look at, like, Clem's lessons about, like, people are, like, they're always going to try to sell you the new thing. So, like, which is normally, like, something you associate with somebody being a cheapskate, but what he's actually saying is, people in power and authority, they never look down. And it's something that Andor mentions in episode 3, when Luthien's like, how did you get in there? Like, how did you steal this? And he goes, because they don't think that I have, like, somebody like me ever would.
Yeah, exactly. They don't think I could. Yeah.
They don't think I could.
And they
think it's impossible.
Yeah, that's, I mean, and we see that again in like full force in the Prison Break stuff of like from the minute he's like in there, he's starting to scout things and he's seeing that, like, he's hearing they're short staffed and he's learning all these little bits and pieces that he then is like continuing to kind of build on for a month. And yeah, what I love so much about this show is that the Cassian that starts this is not the Cassian we know from Rogue One.
Very
and this
different.
is incredibly about all of the little steps in his journey that lead him to become that person and lead him to buy into a bigger cause and a rebellion and resistance. And yeah, it is, he is Clem and Marva's son through the adoption kind of thing. And we see the pieces of Clem that he gets and we see the pieces of Marva that he gets. Obviously Marva has that, there are so many great speeches in this show. Luthen's speech a couple episodes prior, where he talks about like everything he has sacrificed for this, and the idea of like, I'm sacrificing for a cause I know I probably won't be around to see the results of.
With the ISB agent, when he's like, I have a daughter now, I have to think about it, and he goes, it's too late. Like, you don't get it. Wait, like,
Yeah. There
yeah,
is no out. You don't
there's no
get
out
to
for
leave.
us. And it's like, I'm so curious, like, what is this vow that some of them have made? Because whatever the backstory is, like this circle of people who are like, when Moth Monma wants to bring in her friend from childhood kind of into their circle to help out like her deal. And Luthien's like, how can you trust somebody to bring them into our circle? I'm so curious because now we find out that one of the main people at ISB is in that circle. He's literally somebody that over the 15 years since the Empire's rise, Luthien has, like, he got this guy who really is diehard, dyed in the wool for the cause, but he's like, I'm a father now, like, my priorities have changed, and he's like, and Luthien's just like, it's too late.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I think it is, like, I think we see over the course of the series that it is people coming in over time. Like on Aldani, we have the like Imperial officer who fell in love with an Aldani woman, and the Empire basically killed her or let her die or whatever. Like it's left, I think, a little vague in terms of what happened, but she's no longer in the picture. And that was the breaking point for him. And so he somehow got pulled into the fold. I mean, the fact that Luthen wants to spend most of the season after Aldani cleaning up the loose end that is Cassian, and like, so he like, everybody is keeping things incredibly close to the chest, and they can't rely on, like, they brought in a guy for a mercenary to do the thing on the job. Okay, that's done. Now that guy either needs to be all in on us or we got to kill him. And he's not all in on us, so we got to try and find him and kill him. And eventually, by the end of the season, like, like Cassian basically says, "I'm all in. Take me in."
Like, either kill, like, kill me or take me in. Like, these are your choices. Like, I'm, like, that is such a great thing because when he gives what's her name, the cousin of Mon Mothma, Vel, when he gives Vel the necklace back, I did not expect him to give the necklace back. Because when he gives that back, I think that said a lot about him to Andor, to us as an audience. But the fact that it meant absolutely nothing to Luthien says something. Says a lot, I think. And, like, it's not about, oh, did he give this back? Well, guess what? He's still not, like, the necklace was a thing to kind of bridge him along. Him giving that back doesn't matter because he's not part of the cause. He's a loose end, and we can't risk it.
Yeah, I mean, I read that as much as, like, that was the down payment. Cassian got his payment from the job and didn't need to worry about that anymore, so he could give that back. But yeah, because he took the money and left, there was no, all right, but I don't know what he's going to do with that knowledge now. He knows who I am. He knows I'm the one responsible for this ordeal.
He's been on the ship.
If he talks to the wrong person, we need to end that because he's an unknown.
Dude, it's even worse than that because now we find out, well, how does the Empire always get info from prisoners? Now we know.
Yes.
Oh my God.
That's way better than the Boar Gullet of Rogue One. That's like the very nonchalant, calm, disgusting ISB
Nazi
like torture science guy who comes
yeah.
in like, we found that when we were killing these people, the screams they made drove people mad. So we've been testing and playing with that. It's like, okay.
And we believe we found the frequency that specifically captures the women and small children.
Yeah.
And like, it's just like
all of
what?
that, like, and I think it is incredibly like a deliberate, like, yeah, we get it. We didn't handle
the baddies.
It's we get it. We the writers didn't handle the torture thing in Rogue One as well as we could, and this Boar Gullet thing became just like a joke. This is a terrifying thing. Like the story we get on that, and the effects that we see it have on Bix, is like,
oh my
God. They definitely like pulled a 180 and turned around on writing torture kind of stuff.
Dude, the way that when he looks at her, he's like, okay. She's like fidgeting and like trying to keep it. When he fits on it, he goes, all right. He goes, you won't be able to say anything, so just shake your head or just shake your head like this when you want it to end.
Yeah. It's
And he goes,
almost it's like
the way he
Christopher
says it, he
Guest
says
in, or
it's
not,
he.
no. Is it Christopher Guest in Princess Bride?
Yes,
It is like the so we've been I'm exploring this. Please, this is for posterity. Let me know.
when he tells her it'll only, he goes, oh, and don't worry, it'll only take a few seconds, although it won't feel like that to you. And then he does it, and it's just like, oh, that is a horrifying scene, because you see Paz is like, you find out Paz went to a meeting and he's been like this like relay guy for the rebellion for such a long time. He's a true dyed wool blue. And then you see him after he's been taken and you're just like, what the hell? And then on top of that, also that prick, that Imperial dickhead who's like, well, what should we do with the merchant? I don't know. What
hang
would
him
you
up on
want
Rick's
to do?
Road? Yeah.
I want to hang him up on Rick's Road, make an example out of him. All right, well, go ahead. And it's just like that nonchalant, like, yeah, I guess, like, I want to make a symbol out of him. Like, all right, that's effective. Go ahead and do it. It's like, man, I have never seen like such, like, ever. It wasn't who plays Tarkin in New Hope.
His name's escaping me.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I can try and pull it up.
It's okay. I'll put it this way: the guy who played Tarkin. It's not since Tarkin that I've seen a bad guy be so bad, but not in a comical way. Like Palpatine is literally a like ham-fisted, or not ham-fisted. That means like being shoved in unnecessarily. Mm-hmm. He is a scenery-eating, like he devours the scenery. He doesn't just chew it. Like Palpatine devours scenery around him because he's so larger than life. Tarkin was a realistic, believable, like affably evil human being who was such a fucking awesome, like awful human being that he kept Vader in line.
Mm-hmm. It was Peter Cushing, by the way.
Peter Cushing, and not since Peter Cushing have I seen, and the fact that it's like, clearly there is a link, like this Tarkin's like likely, I'm sure in some reference he has a past in ISB at some point, I'm sure. But the way that basically everybody's doing their best Peter Cushing impression to be the nastiest, fucked up bad guy, but in the most casual, affable way is brilliant. It's brilliant direction. It's brilliant acting being done. The acting caliber in Andor, by the way, is out of this world amazing. Mm-hmm. Holy crap. From the kid actors in the first 2 episodes, or the first 3 episodes, to everyone through it. Fantastic. Believable. Like understandably, like their motivation's clear and crystal clear. And the acting ability and caliber is just absolutely insane in this show.
Yeah.
And yeah, my headphones did just die just then. And I had to keep going to have time to plug them in. But man, I just like unbelievably, like Diego Luna, I already knew and loved him as like from being Andor in Rogue One. And he did another movie a long time ago that I really liked. That was like an immigration film. And he, like, I love him. I think he's incredible. He's also extremely fucking attractive. Like, holy shit. He's so hot. I have no idea how we got so lucky with like just 3 hunks of men between Pedro Pascal. Wow, I'm really bad
Oscar
at
Isaac and Diego
Thank
Luna.
you, Oscar. Yeah, Diego Luna. Like, it's off the charts. Like, also, let's not put him out, or let's put him out here. Also, like John Boyega, hot as hell. Like we are just in an era of hunky Star Wars men, and I fucking love it.
Yeah, trying to look and see if I can find the movie you were talking about, but yeah, I think obviously, like, we knew Diego Luna was probably going to be really good in this. We knew Stellan Skarsgård was going to be good. Oh my God, and the so fact good. That like everybody in this, like the fact that he is surrounded by such a stellar supporting cast, even the people who are in one-off things or whatever, like everybody. God, yeah,
like fucking Andy Serkis.
Andy Serkis popping up and
Andy Serkis
like,
having a random role in this film.
Yeah,
it's just in this show. Wild.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like, how are we going to pull Andy Serkis as his real life self into the Star Wars universe?
He's gonna make him a prison foreman. Like,
just a prison foreman who can't swim. It turns out.
Yeah, but like when he popped up, it was like, oh, that's fun. Yay, good, cool to see Andy Serkis. And then like he has the most like heartbreaking arc of the series of like he goes from I just want to keep my head down, I just want to get through this, my time is almost up, I just want to do the job, let's not ruffle any feathers. And for him to like slowly be broken away from that, and to the point where like they hear this whole like somebody got taken out and then got sent to another floor, and so the secret is out. Even when you get out, you're not out. And they killed a whole floor, a whole shift of people to keep that quiet. Like that being his breaking point, and basically like, all right, let's do this. Like the end of that episode of like, how many guards are there? Never more than like 6 or whatever. It's like
never more than no. He says never more than 7.
Never. Okay.
Whatever
the count is, like the.
I didn't want to. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get particular there.
No, but like that turning point of like, like that being the end of that episode. It's like, all right, we're in for a good next episode, and the Prison Break episode, an easy standout of this season.
I normally hate prison breaks in shows, mainly because I watched the entirety of the show Prison Break. So I'm prison breaked out.
So the show that should have just been one season and continued on, you stayed with it after that? Okay, yeah.
Trevor, I watched the movie.
I
watched the Prison Break movie. Okay. There was. It ended everything. It's rather great. Like, don't get me wrong. Prison Break's a show that should not have gone long as it did. But its first season is unparalleled and brilliant. But I'm just prison breaked out when it comes to like media now. Mm-hmm. I don't like prison breaks in games. I don't like I know people are like, oh, we have a cool prison break. I'm done with cool prison breaks. You cannot top a dude who literally in artistic tattoo design critically hides patterns necessary for a maximum security prison blueprint on his body.
I feel like we really don't need to go down the path of Prison Break. You don't like Prison Break episodes because of Prison Break. Cool.
But I need people to understand how good Prison Break is, that I'm just like, I can't do another Prison Break. This, however, they successfully got me to care about prison stuff, which is rare. I almost never care about a prison arc.
I looked it up. It was never more than 12 was the
Never
count.
more than 12. Yeah, there we go. We're both wrong.
But yeah, the fact that like he makes that turn, and then in the next episode, like has that moment like he thinks that the electricity is going to kill him because he's not on the table or whatever, and it shorts, and like he sees, okay, this is our chance, and like tells everyone to fight. The fact that like Cassian, not the leader at this point, and Kino Loy very clearly is the leader, so he gets yet another amazing speech in this series, One Way Out.
Because he was previously saying that in earlier episodes where he was telling people, don't try to escape,
yep.
Don't try to cause problems, there's only one way out.
Yeah.
And for that to then become his like rallying cry, was fucking great.
Yeah. And then the heartbreaking, like he gets everybody and they get out. Like they've overrun the prison. They've got everybody out of the prison. Or they've got like the few guards that are there cowering in storage closets and stuff. And he gets to that and he can't swim. He's stuck. He can't actually escape with everybody else. It is like so devastating. I'm like,
it's so
oh my
heartbreaking.
God, no. Why do you do this to me, Star Wars?
If they're like, hey, you wonder why that guy we don't see him anymore? It's because he probably got pushed out and drowned in the massive ocean they were in.
Yeah.
Most of those people probably drowned because they were really far away from land.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that like obviously like we only see Cassian and Melshi kind of escape. But the fact that like nobody else was with them and it's just the two of them, like, yeah, obviously they all were swimming in different directions and stuff like that. But it is highly unlikely that most people probably didn't actually get all the way out.
I think that was highly emphasized when Melshi is Andor's tried to call home, and then he goes out to talk to Melshi, and Melshi is just like, he's like, do you think anybody else made it out? And Andor just like looks at him, just gives him that look of like, no. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to say no, because if we either of us say no or nobody else made it out, then it's real. But as long as we don't say anything, maybe somebody out there is out there.
Yeah.
And
Or
then
or
Mel,
but
she
the
goes,
fact that like nobody like the fact that the word hasn't gotten out
mm-hmm.
means that at least even if other people had gotten out, like nobody's listening, nobody cares that the prisoners are being abused or whatever, and
And Mel, she can't
building
accept
what
that.
turns
Yeah.
out to be Death Star
The
parts.
Death Star. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is like, it makes sense because we're told through other stuff that the Death Star was done in high secrecy.
Oh yeah,
And it
definitely.
makes sense. Why can't you let the prisoners leave after their sentence is over?
Mm-hmm.
Because they've worked on the Death Star. They
Right.
have to be worked till they're dead.
I mean, like even that, like I don't think that's necessarily a thing of like trying to keep it secret because nobody knows the parts that they're making are going to go to that. They know they're being like they're building something. I think it's the desk like that's how they're keeping costs down on the Death Star.
Hey, you know what? That's fair.
They're
That's
not
fair.
having to pay any labor.
I
for
once wrote an article. Funny enough, a friend of the show, Josh, I believe his last name's Silverman. I'm really bad with
Josh
names
Silverman,
tonight. Yeah, Josh Silverman. Shout
Bear
out
Punch,
to him. He's
at Bear Punch.
Yep, at Bear Punch. He's an awesome dude. He's moving to France. I missed that we didn't get a final just like cool hangout with him, but it's fine.
I think he's still here. I think you still
he's
could.
still here. Oh, I thought he moved. I thought they already like.
No, they haven't moved yet.
I
know he's
sold
going
the
to Game
house.
Awards next week and stuff. I mean, they may have sold the house, but I think they're like staying with family until. They
Okay,
do
gotcha.
But
Did he move? Yeah. Shout out to Josh Silverman, because he ran a website that I tried. So my best friend from high school married his best friend from high school, and she convinced me to write an article, like pitch an article to Josh's like site at the time, which was like a gaming site and like media movie site and stuff like that. That honestly had no business being written, but she convinced me to do it, and it was basically looking at the realistic costs that it would take to. Let me put it out there. It is 100% a satire article where I took the side of the Empire.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
satire.
I used to wear. I would wear a shirt with the Imperial logo on it, and if people would be like, "Really, you're siding with the Empire?" I'd be like, "Better benefits, man."
Better benefits. I was all about that corpo propaganda satire stuff, but
I mean, I remember like seeing a number of sites kind of be like, here's how much the Death Star would cost based on the size and like cost of parts and all that stuff and cost
manpower
of labor.
and everything like
And
that.
yeah,
So
if they're not paying for labor.
Yeah. And it makes sense because I was like, it would take like an astronomical amount of labor, and like the idea of like, oh yeah, and like the old Clerks argument about like there were independent contractors on there. It's like, actually no. Turns out it was all prison labor.
Prison labor and droids, yep.
Prison labor, droids, and slaves. That was it. Because Wookiees are not considered prisoners because they're not considered sentient beings by the Empire, so they are just slaves.
Yeah. So real quick, I just want to obviously we talked a lot about like the early Ferrex arc. I just want to circle to Aldhani, which like the like visuals of escaping Aldhani, the eye, was like, this is one of the most beautiful things Star Wars has ever done. Thank you.
I specifically, so I watched it on like the LED super nice TV that my brother-in-law and sister own. Because like I was home all day Monday and I was just watching everything, and I watched it all there. And I'm so glad that I watched it there and not on my phone or not on like my 1080p monitor. Because it's fucking gorgeous.
Yeah. But like that whole art, like I loved that in terms of it shows you more the strategic mind of Cassian, even like picking up that like, here's who's left-handed, here's who's right-handed, here's how we should, be doing this. Here's like just all the things he's just like instinctually kind of like catching on to and identifying. And then like, so it was just so much fun to see like the lead into that heist, and then like things are going to go wrong.
Yeah, because it's not a good heist if everything goes off right.
Exactly. But I loved the like it's not that things went wrong necessarily because of how they planned things. Like things were going well. It was that like the one thing they kept on in order so they could communicate to one another, like the one guy managed to actually be good at his job and identify and say like, hey, why did all of the rest of our comms go out? I'm hearing like fuzz about, and he starts to overhear the case.
And
And
he notifies the other base and
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, the fact that it's like, oh yeah, the greatest enemy of the rebellion is actual competency on everyday like once again, it's rebellions like this can't succeed if everyday regular people are doing their job correctly. But regular day people don't do their jobs correctly all the time in totalitarian environments.
Yeah. But I loved, so much of that was him meeting Nemec and just kind of like, spending a few days being talked at by this guy who is like true blue, like he's fighting for the cause and he's written these things about it, and he wants feedback from Cassian and stuff like that. And Cassian, placates him and is like, fine. While also seeing like the much more cynical guy who's like, kind of keeping an eye on him all along. And ultimately that's like, yeah, let's bounce. Let's just split the money and run. And Cassian, again, like not, and you obviously weren't talking about this earlier in the sense, like he's clearly not killing that guy because he doesn't believe in the cause or anything like that. He's killing that guy because he knows that if he doesn't kill him, that guy's going to kill him first. It's very much 100%. Like a Han shoots first kind of situation of if Cassian doesn't just kill Skeen there, like he's probably not going to give him much more of a chance. And
100%.
So,
yeah, that is definitely the case.
So I love that whole side, like shows, I think really the thing that comes out of Aldhani is he sees how Aldhani affects Marva, and he starts to see how it affects like other people in the galaxy, and like that it has given them something to believe in. And he's still not ready to believe himself, but like it's such a great like so much there's the thing in Last Jedi of like the the spark that will light the fire of resistance. It's one of those kinds of moments.
For Cassian, it's just a heist to get money to get him and Marva out of trouble. But what he doesn't realize is that to Luthien and to Vel and to everyone else, it was meant to be something that would get the Empire to clamp down stronger.
Yeah.
Because the more the Empire tries to choke it, like it's in Nemec's speech or in his manifesto, they can't control freedom. They can't contain it.
Yeah, tyranny.
Sorry, I think I interrupted you.
Tyranny requires constant effort. It breaks. It leaks. Authority is brittle. And yeah, so it very much is like, and that's another thing I love is that like another version of this show, Aldhani would have been getting money to help fund the next mission that the Alliance wants. The fact that it is Luthen inviting the Empire to overreach and clamp down hard and punish people, knowing like the fact that he does all that, knowing that if things go according to plan, people will suffer because the Empire will tighten their grip on people and make people suffer more, is like it. The show does such a great job of playing in the grays of leading an insurgency, leading a rebellion against any kind of like leadership structure. In this case, of course, like an authoritarian fascist leadership structure, but like the idea that the Rebel Alliance is doing what it does, knowing full well that it's going that there's going to be a lot of collateral damage from people who are just trying to get by and just do their like get through their days.
When Luthen says, "I'm already damned," he's not talking, well, I've done bad things. He's talking about the things that he knows that his actions are going to cause.
Yeah. And
that is the way that they fucking handle everything. And you get to see the toll that it's taken on these people, especially Mon Mothma, who is like, I have to be this like, anti-Empire. Like I have to be this ineffective anti-Empire senator because it helps me connect these people and find information. Like she's a bigger part of the rebellion as a part of this inner circle, but to do that, she has to be grossly ineffective at her job for the most part.
I don't think her.
Sorry, let me rephrase that. She has to accept that no matter her efforts in her day job, like as being a senator, it's not going to actually have the significant impact that she has in other places. And so she has to wine and dine to get these votes and all this stuff, even though she knows it's not going to really amount to anything.
Yeah, I see her very much as like she has seen that the Senate is beyond help, and she will continue to put on the front and the facade there and do whatever she can. But yeah, it's anything she does. She could be the best senator in the world, but when she's out there giving her speeches and other people in their little Senate boxes are booing or turning their lights off and leaving.
When they turn off the lights like they're leaving in the middle of her speech, I was just like, oh shit. Like, that is the most disrespectful shit.
Yeah.
Booing, that whole thing, that's normal. Getting up and leaving in protest, that's one thing. But literally turning off the light to go home,
mm-hmm. Yeah,
like, is the most, it's 5 p.m. already? Don't care about your speech later.
Yeah.
Like, attitude you could have. And the fact, because it's just absolute apathy to the situation.
Yeah.
And it's fucking great. I fucking love it.
And so, like, my read is all of that has been happening for some time, and that's what led Mon to get involved. And there's also
for
like
15 years, man.
The fact that we also have that we have the reveal that Vel is a cousin of Mon Mothma, and I don't think they clarify it. If they do, I missed it. Would need to catch on a rewatch. But like, part of it's like, who brought who into the fold there? Like, was Vel already a freedom fighter? Because, we kind of learned that she was, she had everything given to her. And so now she got tired of being a spoiled rich kid or whatever. And we get kind of those digs from her partner. And so, like, it's fun either way of like, was Mon Mothma already involved in this and confided in her cousin to bring her into and her cousin ends up being like a soldier in Luthen's war, or was it the other way around of Vel was in there and said, my cousin Mon might be able to help pull some money together for this.
For me, I think that's the part of it, because Mon Mothma in a deleted scene from Revenge of the Sith is part of Amidala's group of senators who don't like this, like, overreaching of central government, of the Supreme Chancellor's overreach that he's been doing. Like, the wartime powers are still in effect. Like, we need to have that come to an end. Like, she's part of that whole thing with Bail Organa and stuff, all part of that entire effort and movement. So I would think that, because we never hear Luthen talk about Bail Organa.
Yeah.
We never hear him talk about kind of like the other kind of like high profile senators, figures that we associate with the rebellion in the Clone Wars era. And so I think it is Luthen was doing his thing, and I think Vel's the one that brings him in, because the way he and Vel act when they're with each other is extremely different than when Mon Mothma's visiting.
Yeah.
When she comes to visit, and it's much more of a,
well, there's also there are certainly more eyes on Mon Mothma, so they have to do everything in double speak, and they have to keep things so much closer to the chest on that one. But yeah, like that, all of that dynamic is great and fun, and when you do factor in, this being around the same time as the start of Rebels, and over the course of Rebels, we see up leading into Rogue One, effectively, like, everybody was small pockets and cells of rebellion. And, we see at the end of this one, like, a completely unexpected rebel cell kind of blossoms on Ferrix out of Marva's speech. And so, yeah, it's fun to have Luthen as this, like, Axis character and the ISB kind of on his tail.
Dude, when they said this guy's the Axis, like, we have like, this person we've called the Axis, and I'm like, I'm like, oh, because he's literally the axle that everything revolves around. He is the axis of the vectors that everything is moving out of, and it's like, First off, holy shit! I love that. Basically, when what's her name,
Miro.
Miro.
Yeah.
When Miro tells them, like, you accessed all this stuff, and she goes, "This is how they've been getting around it. They know how we work. They know how ISB operates. They know that we're fragmented out into different sectors, and they know our boundaries and our borders, and they know not to cross certain ones." Like, it's such a brilliant way of, like, how do the bad guys figure out good guys' plans? Also, shout out to freaking when Luthen goes to see Saw Gerrera for the second time, and Saw Gerrera's like, "I'm in now. I'm in because I'm crazy, and let's go." And actually, you know what? His first meeting with Luthen might have been before he abandons. God, I'm so bad with names tonight. Jin
Erso.
Jin. Thank you. I don't know what's going on with me tonight. So Jin, like, it might be that's before he leaves Jin, and then when he's like, "Let's do it. We can go crazy. I dropped a kid off at like daycare. Let's go nuts."
Yeah, maybe.
It might have been that. That's my own personal headcanon. We'll see what happens going out from there. That being said, and then Luthen tells him, he goes,
yeah, that's the biggest gamble I think Luthen makes in the show is, like, I don't know how Saw's going to respond to this, but here's why you can't join them, because I've already sacrificed them. They're a pawn that I'm giving up to try and take a queen in this game of space chess.
And when Saw figures out you have somebody close to the central power of what's going, you have somebody on the inside, and that's why you're letting 31 men die to protect one guy. And that is such a pivotal breaking point between Saw and Luthen's relationship.
Yeah.
Or really just like a moment where they finally actually see each other for who they really are. Which is
because in that first meeting we had that great like scene of like, "Aldani, was that you?" Like I'd say if it was, and that like wonderful little back and forth between them. But yeah,
that was great. Yeah.
With Saw and Saw kind of throwing back like, "If it was me, would you have left me to die?" Is like a great and so much of it is also Luthen playing on Saw's paranoia, which we know is obviously just going to get worse and worse and worse over the next few years.
Maybe because of people like Luthen abusing him by using his paranoia. Yeah.
Yeah. That was like when Forrest Whitaker showed up, he showed up, and it was a lot of fun to see.
God damn, I love Forrest Whitaker so much. He's so great.
But yeah, I mean, just so there were so many just great scenes in this show, and again, like for a show that like ostensibly is about Cassian Andor, like so many of these great, incredible, cool moments were completely outside of Cassian's story and still feed into it in certain ways. Obviously, will feed into it with all the Rebel Alliance stuff here later, but like it, and so it all just leaves me very excited for like what we will get in season 2. And like I would not, if anything, one of the biggest surprises at the end of that was that Luthen survived to the end of this season. Like I thought, still in Skarsgård, I would not at all be surprised if he pulled a Sean Bean on this one. It was like, all right, I'll be in for a season and then I'm out. So the fact that like he's sticking around he survives and lives in, like, obviously there will be some kind of downfall to Luthen, since we know we don't know of Luthen in later projects. Like it seems almost inevitable that he's going to die. But yeah.
We do need to take a moment here to talk just about Luthen and just about how incredible Luthen is as a character, because holy crap, like I'm going to say it, like Logan, if you're listening to this, dude, you missed out because this is your moment to basically, you could have said this before I did. Luthen is basically the Star Wars James Bond.
Yeah. He's James Bond and Q all in one, because he has his own stuff. And his M is actually,
and he has his M, who's actually like his assistant.
Yeah.
I loved his secret agent suave, like when in episode 4, when he is putting on the wig and like the fake teeth, and he's getting everything ready to take on his collector, like, you know, grave robber type, like seller of artifacts to the wealthy and powerful, that like that image
Mhm.
is such an like that is such a great transformation from the rugged badass secret agent stealth dude in the sick ass green cloak that like it's so good. It's so good on so many levels, and he ends it that same way where he goes, well, things have gone to shit, time to get out of Dodge, hops on a speeder and like gets out of there, and it's so good. Like,
Or even
he's
like
so good.
his introduction to Cassian of like, and
Mhm.
obviously we talked about this sequence more so in the first, but like him coming in and like giving the life lessons of like always build your exit plan on the way in. Like
Which he does, because on his way into the prison, he builds out his exit plan.
Yeah.
Not with an explosive, but he immediately starts picking up on, I have to get my exit. I have to get my exit out of here.
Mhm.
Like, how do I figure out my exit? I do it on my way in.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah. Luthen is great. Stellan Skarsgård just like crushes it every time he's on screen in this, and is so like he's great in the way he's manipulating people, but then in that speech he has with Lonnie, saying like, this is, I'm damned, this is what I've sacrificed, this is what I've given to this cause, this is why you're in and you can't get out. Like all of that stuff is just like, okay, yep, you are a doomed character, and I can't wait to see how that plays out.
The way that his own very, like, not actually soliloquy, but his monologue in that moment when he's talking to Lana, and he's just like, it's so unbelievably good, because you see Luthen completely honest for the first, like, he's like, I don't have to try to coerce you, because I know that even though you're here because you're scared, you're still a part of this, and it doesn't matter because you're in it. Like, they won't let you go. The resistance, the rebellion won't let you go. Like, we're both stuck. Because as much as everything he's telling Lonnie, he's also saying it about himself. Like, we are in this till the death.
Yeah.
Like, I will never see what we end up finishing. Like, that entire speech is so freaking great.
Yeah, I've given up all chance at inner peace. I've made my mind a sunless space. I share my dreams with ghosts. I wake up every day to an equation I wrote 15 years ago, from which there's only one conclusion. I'm damned for what I do. My anger, my ego, my unwillingness to yield, my eagerness to fight, they've set me on a path which there is no escape. Yeah, he's good.
God.
He's
and
good.
Like,
he's really good.
If we knew, like, here's the thing, one of the best parts about, like, Disney doing these Star Wars projects is we get to see really incredible actors finally join the Star Wars universe. And there's no better place for them to have put Stellan Skarsgård.
Mm-hmm.
This is a role that was built for somebody who has that natural, just fucking gravitas that he has.
Yeah.
He like, in the original Thor, he literally opens up a children's book about the Norse gods with the rainbow fucking bridge on it. And the way that he delivers that is so fucking good. And then and now he gets to do, and he's in Star Wars doing it. He's doing it in Star Wars. Like, he's so incredible as an actor, and just having him be this really incredible character, not being wasted on something else, is great. And I cannot wait to see what an actual mentor version of him looks like, because we know Cassian's not a great secret agent right now. He's not the best shooter, he's not the best fighter, but what he is he's really good at getting to know people, and he's really good at bringing out kind of their inner rebel.
I mean,
it's really good.
I don't think Cassian needs to or will ever be a secret agent.
Oh, not like that,
but he will be a great spy, because and he's already been doing this. And he kind of says from the off of like, he can get to places because people don't expect him to be in those places anyway. And so if he goes in with the confidence that he's supposed to be there or whatever, he gets by, and that's already something I think he has and does a really good job of conveying over the course of this. So I think he's just going to get better at that. But yeah, he's never going to be the Bond.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
And I like that. I know that's not going to be the case, but I like that there is like this. I'm really looking forward to, like, hey, what would this Bond-esque spy guy played by Stellan Skarsgård look like as a mentor to Cassian Andor? And I can't wait to see it, because it's like, It's just great. We have an awesome moment of Star Wars right now. Where I literally think we have the best Disney project Star Wars that we've ever gotten. So
Yeah, I mean that's I think this is easily the best thing of the modern era, and I often kind of find myself thinking like do I like this better than even like Empire or something like that? Like I think
yeah,
uh like obviously there's always going to be like a nostalgia element of Empire, but I think the fact that like this is such a great story, especially a great story told over a significantly longer stretch of time, and like there aren't any misses. I mean, because the thing with Empire, and Empire suffers less than I think, definitely less than like the prequels, obviously, but it still is hamstrung a little bit by Lucas's weaknesses as a writer,
hmm
and over reliance on like tropes. And I think this is just a significantly more mature story told. Um, and I think Tony Gilroy just crushes it in terms of that. And so like there,
he perfectly captures that element
yeah,
of what this level of Star Wars should look like. This isn't laser swords and space magic. This is real people dealing with real fucking problems.
yeah.
And you get to see that, and it's great.
So yeah, at the end of the day, regardless of like if I ultimately like this better or like Empire better or whatever the case may be, I think an argument can easily be made that this is the best Star Wars, certainly the best story, but if not the best Star Wars thing that has been created. And that's yeah, that's wildly telling, especially because I think I, like many people, came in as like, why do we need a why do we need a backstory from like a B-list player from Rogue One kind of thing? Like what are we gonna get? What are we gonna get? Like why do we need a prequel to the Cassian prequel or what? Like what is that going to do? It blows everybody away like it has. Like it, I definitely hope more people see it, and like come around to it, because that seems to be something that is kind of like being spoken out there, is like not a bunch of people are tuning in because they didn't have expectations for it, but everybody who did is like, this is amazing. And yeah, I think, where, regardless of like where it ends up falling in like personal rankings or that are going to
Yeah, I
be
think
some kind of
yeah.
subjective, I think there is, and there's like anything here is subjective, but I think there is an easier case to be made that this is one of the most tightly crafted Star Wars stories of ever, and just from moment to moment, episode to episode, character to character, there's just so much to enjoy in this. And even the one of the things we didn't talk about a ton here is like, is the ISB, and is Deidre Miro and Cyril. The fact that like Cyril gets shamed out of things and then like finds ways to still stay on the Cassian Andor case and get like he continues to like file false reports or whatever, to the point that he gets like brought in front of the ISB. Like I love that.
I've never seen a bigger Karen in any
Oh
media
yeah,
ever.
absolutely. Like I love that I want to see these characters fail, but I also like have a respect for like they're competent enough in their things that like they're a threat, and so it becomes that much more interesting to watch them when they miss, and especially like in the finale of like when Ferrix erupts and like Miro very easily gets like overwhelmed, because she is a data person. She is not a boots on the
Yeah,
ground kind of person. She is
it's the same thing
out
with
of her
Cyril.
depth. And yeah.
It's the same thing with Cyril. Cyril's a desk jockey. Like these are two desk jockeys who, at different endpoints of this like series, are proven we're really good at doing our analyst. Like as somebody who is an analyst by trade,
Yeah.
I can tell you, like it's. I'm aware that I could run crime statistics and like figure these things out and everything, and that's fine. But like, I'm not gonna go out there and think that I can handle things. I can handle a riot better than better than like actual like security people. Like it's insane. It's
Mhm.
absolute insanity. But it's so great to see them like they're so overconfident. And that's part of the Empire. The Empire's thing is we're so powerful, we're big and powerful, we're so confident. And so when like errors or problems inevitably come about, like it happens, and it's just massive. It's a massive failure, and like they just also like it's, and also I'm gonna be real with people, you guys. It's gonna be really weird, but we have to accept the fact that like those Nazis got some serious chemistry.
That's like I'll be very curious to see what they do with that in season 2, because obviously like
I get my prediction, which is kind of like
or whatever. Yeah. So that like I loved their meeting outside the ISB where he basically like steps in front of her and has just been stalking her, and she shuts it down. It's like, this is grossly inappropriate. Like I don't ever want to see you again. Like I loved that. I love her not feeding into it. Like he's clearly obsessed with her and because he sees her as like a kindred spirit and stuff. And so like I kind of don't want them to like consummate whatever this is, but I think based on like the last scene, it's clearly gonna happen. But
like even here's the thing, I completely believe 100% that when they put pen to paper, they were like, okay, we're just like, and yeah, so now the Nazi saves the other Nazi and now she's gonna owe him a favor. And they put it on film and they're like, okay, why do these two look like they're about to like bang in this like this shed that they're hiding in? Mm-hmm. Like, what is going on here? Like, because the actor and actress just have a phenomenal chemistry because they're both absolutely fantastic. They're incredible.
Yeah.
That's the, and even though like I hate them, I kind of love. It's the analyst in me. It's the efficiency lover in me. I love how brilliant and efficient the ISB can be sometimes. Like it just, like on a systems level, I get it. On the authoritarian, first off, ACAB. Let's be very clear. This is an ACAB. Like this, our viewpoint is ACAB here on this show.
Mm-hmm. ACAB and as we've kind of alluded to in the past, like AJAB, all Jedi are bastards too. Because
all Jedi are bastards too. 100%.
Because they clearly not all, but
listen, no, because even if you know a good Jedi, even if you know a good Jedi, it doesn't matter because that good Jedi will cover for a bad Jedi.
Yeah. The caveat there being like, once all the Jedi are wiped out, a new order gets born in A New Hope, and the so like Luke Skywalker, maybe not an AJAB kind of, but everybody in the prequel era,
Luke is trying to reclaim the term Jedi to mean something different going forward, and I respect that effort.
Yeah. But granted, as like both Ahsoka and Dooku, as we saw in the in Tales of the Jedi, they're kind of on Team AJAB too. So
100% no. Also, maybe not the best indication of like, can you reform the police? Can you reform the Jedi? Because look who the big first like master student comes out of Luke from. It's
true. Yeah. You kind of botched that.
Yeah. It's like pure like, I can't believe Luke. I'm like, I'm sorry, Luke, who got like a month's worth of training, is supposed to like impart philosophy and other things to a kid, and it's not going to happen, man. It's not a formula for success.
Yeah, that's where we would have lost Logan in this argument.
Because
he is a Luke Skywalker ride or die.
That's his problem with Last Jedi. Yeah. That's the problem he has with The Last Jedi, not like anything else in that film.
Yeah,
God. The one thing that I think is actually great out of Last Jedi is that A plot, and a good chunk of that B plot.
Yeah. Anyway, any final thoughts before we wrap up here on Andor, Cameron?
Yeah. Fuck the Empire. Long live the rebellion.
There you go. Yeah. So let us dive into our grades, the report card. On a scale of A+ to F, what do you want to give Andor here, Cam?
Can I give it an A++?
Hell yeah, I'm going to give it an A++ as well.
Yeah, A++. You get an extra plus, Andor, for being just the fucking best.
Yes. Easily one of the best things I've gotten to watch in quite some time, and yeah, easily one of the best Star Wars things, one of my favorite Star Wars things that has ever come. And there, like, there is such a joy.
I think this is the best Disney Plus thing we've ever got.
Oh yeah, I think I agreed there as well. Because yeah, it's just like start to finish, just does such a great job telling all of the different facets of the story it's trying to tell. And like I remember, like I started thinking around like episode probably like halfway through the prison arc, I was like even if they it was definitely after like the prison break basically, but I was like, even if they completely biff the last 2 episodes, this will still have been one of the best Star Wars things ever made.
And then
um
they
and
fucking
then they
nailed the
didn't biff the
landing.
last 2 episodes. Yeah, it was great, and we got like the great like riot at Rick's Road. Who knew seeing marching bands in Star Wars was going to be awesome and fun.
Shout out to Anthony Carboni, by the way, who on the in review thing that Kind of Funny did appropriately called it marching band jizz.
Yes, yes, a jizz band.
It is a marching jazz, or sorry, a marching band jizz.
Yes. Yeah.
Shout out to that. Like, who would have thought like this throwaway thing that Lucas did literally like 50 years ago would have like such great ramifications going forward.
Yeah. So A++ is from both of us. Extra credit, other suggestions if you like this. You have Tales of the Jedi, Rogue One, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Star Wars A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, The Mandalorian, and The Book of Boba Fett are the recommendations. I would personally sub in Rebels instead of The Book of Boba Fett. But that is me, not Disney Plus.
I would agree. I would 100% agree with that also.
Yeah. I think the algorithm is Tales of the Jedi because that's the other new thing. Then everything else is live action. Extracurriculars. Are you watching anything else on Disney Plus, Cam?
Yeah, I'm watching Willow.
You're watching Willow?
The Willow
Okay.
series. Yeah, little known fact. The
you're
Abbott family.
You're a big Willow fan?
An Abbott family classic, an absolute banger in my family, happens to be the film Willow. To the point where we had 2 copies because we literally ran the first copy into parts where like the ribbon was so thin, it would go fuzzy. The only other film to have that like accreditation in my family is the film Hook.
Nice.
So yeah, the Willow series, it's very good so far. First 2 episodes came out, absolutely loved them. The one thing I will say, 1, they don't use enough music in the show, and 2, the end songs that are like show you that they're about to go into like the end credits, and the song that plays through the end credits are like so far have been just fucking terrible because they're like modern music, and that's just like it's fucking bad.
Okay, interesting. I've never seen
Willow has a fantastic soundtrack, and they don't use it enough.
All right. Yeah, I've never watched Willow, so I've not been like eager to hop into the new series. I will say I did. I watched the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, which will most likely be next week's episode of that D Plus show. We'll sit down and talk about that. And then yeah, I mean, not on Disney Plus, but like I did see that Guardians 3 trailer and the Indiana Jones trailers dropped today. So I checked both of those out on my phone on my lunch break, and I need to actually like sit down and watch them on just a better screen. But yeah, we'll talk about Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special next week. And I don't think I watched anything else on Disney Plus this last week. I think it was pretty much just that. Well, cool. And yeah, Andor just real good. Maybe I'll just watch Andor again.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
Wouldn't put like as somebody who watched 8 episodes on Monday. It's a good idea.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that is going to do it for this week's episode of That D Plus Show. Thank you, Cam, for joining me to gush about Andor. I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad once you finally like it was. I kept like I figured you would like it, so I was so sad every week when you were like, "Yeah, I still haven't watched any more episodes than those first 3," because I was like, I think you'd really enjoy it. But I will say, I think one of my criticisms kind of in that first week was like, I think the story is basically 4 movies rather than 12 episodes. It's the initial Ferrix arc, it's the Aldani arc, it's the prison break, and then it's the wrap up, the like return to Ferrix,
the rebellion at Ferrix. Yeah.
And so I think if it had been released as like in 4 batches, I would have enjoyed it more than the week to week. I still enjoyed it week to week, and like every week it was like, this show is so good. How is this show so good? But I think just for pacing wise, I think it is better served if you watch an hour and a half and then another hour and a half and then a 2-hour block and then the last hour or whatever, or last.
As somebody who did that, as somebody who absolutely basically did that, but just like binged the other last 8 episodes, 100%. That's how I think it works arc wise, like over time. And I think if you are like, I don't want to watch I don't want to binge watch the entire season, literally watch them in those chunks, because I think that is the best way to enjoy them.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You can follow Cameron at RevCabot, 2B's, 2T's. Anything you want to give a shout out to there, Cam?
Yeah, Trevor just put up a Let's Play of Coral Island, which is a game I talked about on That Nerdy Site this past week. That Nerdy Site show this past week. Definitely check it out. If you at all were like curious about like the stuff I was talking about, Trevor's Let's Play. I haven't watched it yet, but from what I understood after talking to him, has a lot going on in there that I was talking about. So just go check that out. You're gonna have a great time. It's Trevor playing one of the types of games that like we both love in a tremendous amount. So
yeah. You can follow me at Trevor Starkey. I will echo that. Yeah, it was you talking about it on the podcast. I was like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and download this and check it out, and I'll sit down and record myself playing the first couple days. So yeah, I repaired the house, which you'd mentioned, and then started building my farm, started clearing out the farm, went and started talking to a lot of the people around town. I did find there. One thing that I struggled with in the Let's Play was one of the items I found just like digging up stuff on the farm was like a treasure chest. And it's like, take this to the blacksmith. And then I'm like looking at the town map and I'm like, I don't see a blacksmith on here.
Yeah, this is a game in development. So like they have not, I don't think they've figured out the map icons just yet, because the map can sometimes also be kind of buggy. Yeah.
I did appreciate that the map, like, it basically has like everybody has like the Find My Phone app or whatever, Find My Friends app, and so you can just see where everybody is at any given time. And if you haven't met these people, it's just like question mark and a stranger. So it's like, okay, that's a person I need to go meet.
One stranger's over here. Yep, it's awesome.
Yeah, really cool stuff.
Also, the thing that weirded me out the most was the teacher just randomly has a robot arm.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Yeah. I did see
if you meet the teacher, he literally has just a robot arm.
Yeah, nice. Cool.
But also mad respect, because he's kind of like Penny, where he's like, I'm just trying to make sure these kids in this small town get some education. And I'm like, I'm a for that.
Yeah. So yeah, go check out my, it's about an hour Let's Play, first couple days of Coral Island, a farming sim game in the vein of your Harvest Moons, your Story of Seasons, your Stardew Valley, with a very, and it was even more pronounced, like just playing it and seeing it in action. Everybody looks like a Disney character, like a Disney animated character, which is cool. And then I will also say, because this last week was the end of my Skyrim Let's Plays that I like pre-recorded a month and a half ago in the old place. So I did sit down and start recording more Skyrim Let's Plays that will be going out next week. And then lastly, I will plug, unless plans drastically change, I'm driving out to Disney for next week for a few days. So if you want to follow me, I'm sure I'll be tweeting and Instagramming pictures from Disney and stuff. I have not decided whether or not I'm going to try and like make my way across town to go to the Game Awards while I'm out there. But maybe we'll see. It would be nice to certainly see everybody over there, but it's a matter of like, do I want to drive across LA traffic for an hour just to go to a Game Awards show that I would probably just enjoy better watching it on my phone anyway. So we'll see. You can follow all of us over at That Nerdy Site, or go to thatnerdysite.com for all the latest from us. Once again, next week's episode will be the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, so go check that out and get your Kevin Bacon fix. If you liked what you heard, please like, rate, review, subscribe, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. Thank you for joining us. As always, stay nerdy, be good to each other, class dismissed, and may the force be with you.
And also with you.